Peter, thank you so much for joining us today. You are a hard man to get a hold of, but I really want to talk to you about an article you had written for GIS about Iran's nuclear ambition. And you had some kind of key takeaways in there, but I want to start off with this idea of breakout time. Can you kind of explain for our viewers what exactly you mean by breakout time?
Well, I'm not a nuclear physicist, but I think that term is often used inappropriately. People use it a lot. What it really means is the time it would take a country to produce enough fissile material for one bomb. So it's not the time it would take for them to produce the bomb itself, but the time to produce the fissile material. The building of a bomb itself is a whole nother scientific and engineering challenge.
And right now, Iran's breakout time to get that fissile material is pretty short.
Yes. Under the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action from 2015, the agreement with the P5+1, the five permanent nuclear powers, plus Germany/EU and Iran,
real quick, the Iran nuclear deal, as it's commonly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. The Iran nuclear deal, as it's commonly called. They envisioned that it would take at that point. Now, remember, that's 2015. That's a long time ago. That they envisioned that it would take a year for Iran to be able to produce enough fissile material for one bomb. Recently, the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, which it monitors, that's the UN's nuclear watchdog, which monitors this agreement, says that it could only be a couple of weeks, that Iran has enough stockpiled low enriched uranium that in a couple of weeks it could produce enough high enriched uranium to produce a couple of to produce at least one bomb, maybe a couple of bombs. So this is alarming, and it hasn't gotten the attention recently because of everything else that's going on in the world. Russia, Ukraine is going on, and obviously the issues in the Middle East, even though this is a Middle Eastern issue.
My next question kind of ties into that. An Iranian nuclear armed Iran, not good for the Middle East, not good for the world.
No, not at all. We don't want to see this. We don't want to see another country join the once exclusive nuclear club. There's a lot of reasons to be concerned about Iran. They want hegemony over the Persian Gulf. They want hegemony in the Middle East. They have serious issues with the United States and Israel, as we know. They have a tremendous amount of animus towards the United States and Israel. They also are a radical regime that supports terrorism. Right. And one of the big concerns is, and as we've talked about this in the context, you and I haven't talked about it, but analysts have talked about this in the context of Russia-Ukraine, is Russia has nuclear weapons and Ukraine doesn't. And Russia may have more freedom of action because of concerns of escalation from the conventional scale to the nuclear scale. So a radical Islamist regime that supports terrorism with nuclear weapons and has great power aspirations is, in my estimation, is not a good thing. So nobody wants it. Well, many people do not want Iran to get the bomb. I'm not sure who does, although they do have some relationships with some other sort of rogue states. But certainly the United States does not want to see Iran get the bomb.
I want to unpack a little bit of what you said there. You mentioned Russia and Ukraine, and the West has been hesitant to give Ukraine all the weapons that they've requested because of this nuclear threat that Russia might escalate and might go to a nuclear option. And you're saying that, if Iran gets that, then the way the West or industrial world deals with a nuclear-backed Iran, it's going to be there's going to be more hesitation because who knows what they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly right. The nuclear weapon provides deterrence. It also provides a power projection. Right now, Iran's ballistic missiles can range all of the Middle East and parts of southeastern Europe and also into South Asia at about 2,000 kilometers. But they also have a space program, which is really the cover for, I believe, an intercontinental ballistic missile program. It's basically the same technology. A space launch vehicle and an ICBM are basically the same technology, except for what goes on the top. Where you would have a warhead or maybe a satellite or something along those lines. And Iran might do it. So someday that could threaten the United States. And so this is something we need to be concerned about, considering how the Iranian regime talks about the United States. It often calls us the big Satan, Israel the little Satan.
Yeah.
And you know how tense relations are right now. U.S. ships are working in the Red Sea to prevent a Iranian proxy, the Houthis, from firing all sorts of projectiles at international shipping and even sending them towards the northern Middle East.
In your estimation, and obviously this is all speculation at this point because
Sure.
we're not Iranian, we're not in the regime. We talk about the missile delivery system, the ICBMs, the space program being cover for that technology. Does Iran need to use ICBM or missile to be able to deliver a nuclear device if they have these terrorist proxies that could dirty bomb, backpack nuke kind of thing?
Right. Well, first of all, it's important to note that we're not quite clear as to whether Iran has the technology or capability to build the bomb.
Okay.
They're working on the material that's required. And then there's a whole other set of scientific and engineering challenges that are required to actually make that warhead, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if they had an underground test, which they've tested nothing so far, and they might try to use supercomputers to say we have the capability of doing it, we're not sure that they actually have a warhead. Okay.
Gotcha.
So then once you do this thing underground, you do this testing underground, then you have to miniaturize that engineering rig to be able to put it in the nose cone of a missile or something else. So you're talking about miniaturization. A nuke backpack is something that was talked about during the Cold War. That takes a tremendous amount of science and technology. Just getting it down to fit in the nose cone of an ICBM, which can carry a lot of weight, is a real challenge. A dirty bomb is not a nuclear weapon per se. There's no fission or fusion in that. It just spreads radioactive material. So it's important to clarify those things. But yes, I mean, ultimately, Iran down the road could certainly put a nuclear weapon in a ship and sail it into a harbor. They could put it on an aircraft. Remember, that's how they started with us, was with aircraft. They could put it on a missile at some point, a different size range once they're able to create that sort of a warhead. They also could put it on a drone or a cruise missile. And remember, Iran is a major supplier of drones and a major leading drone power in the world today, and they're providing them, as we know, to Russia. And they're used for both ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, as well as weapons delivery. So there's all sorts of ways you could do this. And yes, that's obviously a concern. Right now, there's a concern that Iran is sharing its weaponry with its allies and proxies in the Middle East, and some of them are terrorist groups. So yes, some people, Iran is the most active supporter of state terrorism in the world. And them having the bomb should give us a significant pause, especially the people that they work with.
We're talking about Iran sharing tech with their allies. Those allies are probably sharing tech right back with Iran. So even though Iran doesn't have the engineering to build a warhead yet, who's to say that they're not working with Russian engineers or North Korea to develop that same technology, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's believed that Iran got access to designs from A.Q. Khan. Remember him, the proliferator? They got access to designs, but that taking it from a design to an operational warhead or a bomb is another step. But they've also been involved in producing certain types of metals that would be used in a weapon. Now, remember, there's a lot of theater going on here too, right? Geopolitical theater, where Iran wants people to think certain things so they have leverage. So there's a lot of things involved there, but you're right. It's a very good point. Foreign assistance can change the pace of a program. So if they were, the Russians obviously know nuclear weapons, right? So you could have state sponsorship of assistance to Iran, or you could have, we used to worry about after the end of the Cold War, was the brain drain from some of these countries for nuclear scientists who were looking for work, to make money. So this is something. So Russia and Iran have become increasingly close. We expect advanced conventional weapons to move in the direction, Russian advanced conventional weapons to move in the direction of Iran. And Iran is not supplying these drones just for money. They're going to want things. So there could be something there. I'm hoping that Russia does not want to see another nuclear power, because for these large nuclear states, the more people that have the weapon, it devalues their deterrence.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's something. But Iran also has a relationship, a very quiet relationship that in the public space we don't know much about with North Korea, which is already an increasingly capable nuclear power. I mean, they're talking about putting nuclear weapons on submarines now and having an at-sea deterrent. I mean, it's something you may want to look at sometime in the future. But so, yes, a outside help can move a program much faster than a program looks to analysts on paper. So yeah, that's something to be concerned about.
So back in November, when the GIS article came out, you had kind of ended it with there's a sliver of hope that maybe Iran comes to its senses and backs off. In the 2 months since the article came out to now, do you still hold on to that small sliver of hope, or is it gone?
It's even smaller. I was trying to say, look, we have a regime in Iran right now that is led by a particular leader, and there are a lot of hardliners, and Iran is a hardline regime, but there could be a change, right? I mean, it's always possible. We're always surprised by these sort of things. Think about all the color revolutions and things along that line. So Iran, if it had a change in leadership, I could see it moving. Of course, once again, it's important to point out that Iran says that their nuclear program is for peaceful energy purposes. Okay, so they're saying Islam would not allow the creation of a nuclear weapon. But I mean, it's one of these things. Are you going to believe them, or are you going to believe your own eyes? Because of what we're seeing. But once again, there's also the drama involved and the geopolitical maneuvering that's involved, where they're trying to get leverage. Okay, so the perception of a bomb program also gives you leverage. Okay, and when we don't, there's a lot of things we don't know about the Iranian program. So yes, there's always a chance that they could say, okay, this is a bad idea. We want to be integrated in the international system. We want all of these sanctions to go away. But the challenges that are going on in the Middle East and the possible for a wider conflagration there, I don't think Iran's going to move in that direction right now. Once again, like I said, this is a possibility, okay, and not a big one, and it's probably smaller now. But that's a choice for Iran to make. There's been countries have continually opened the door to Iran if they were to change their behavior. But they've chosen not to, and they've stayed the same course. And there's a lot of reasons to be concerned about Iran besides the nuclear weapons. I mean, it's their support of terrorism. We talked about the human rights situation in the country, things along that line. And other things people say, why is Iran pursuing nuclear weapon or nuclear energy when they have all that gas and oil?
Yeah.
So it's very expensive if you were to think about it in that sort of thing. And for a country that is terribly economically mismanaged and should do quite well considering its thing, it's rather impoverished.
Peter, let's leave it there for now. I'm sure in a couple of months we'll probably be circling back and figuring out the latest Iran steps. But thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it, and have a great one.
You too. Take care.